Welcome back, guys. So today I got a pretty interesting one for you. $180 Consolized NeoGeo MVS system. Pretty interesting stuff, right? So recently, not too long ago, I did get me a NeoGeo AES. Not too crazy price to get the system, but the games, that's a whole other story. I don't know if you can see behind me, but I've got like 4 games for the system. And they were some of the lower price games, but they were mostly the ones that I wanted anyway. But there are a ton of games that I'd be interested in playing on the NeoGeo, but they are crazy price for the AES. But on the MVS, on the other hand, not as much. I mean, there are some pricey games, but just comparing between the AES to the MVS, you'll find some games that go for $500 on the AES, and you can find them for $50, if not less, for the MVS. And there's even other games that go for thousands that you can get for under 100, if not closer to 50 for the MVS. And there's tons of games as well that go for 20 or less, or around that price, where you will very rarely find that many games for the AES that go for that. Not anymore, anyway. So that's where this comes in. Prior to getting the AES, I was looking for a Consolized MVS, and they are pretty pricey out there. So when I discovered this one at around 180 bucks, I was like, bunch of different output options, controller options, ready to go. So that is what we are looking at today, guys. This particular system, we're going to dive up close, take a look at the inside in a moment, and then do some gameplay tests. So right now, I don't own any original MVS games. I plan on getting a handful possibly, but right now what I do have is this 161-in-1 cart that probably a lot of people have seen who are into the NeoGeo. This big yellow multi-cart. Typically you could find these for anywhere between $50 to $100. 161 games on it. A lot of them are just hacked versions of the same game. Like most of the main games you would think of have a hacked version of it, but you do get all the Samurai Showdowns, the King of Fighters, SVC, all the Metal Slugs, you name it, it's pretty much on there. It's missing a nice handful of games, but most of the games I wanted to play are on this thing, so that is pretty sweet. And I did get this. I'm gonna do a separate video possibly on the case for this and the actual cartridge, just kind of talking more about it, but that's what we're going to use today. Before we do any of that though, I do have to say one thing. I'm not 100% what the issue was or how this happened, because it's pretty vague information. I'm not that technical of a person, but when I first got this system in today, I was super excited to jump in and play it. So I was using my HD Retrovision cables on it, no problem. SCART, I was like, oh, let me bust out the OSSC, right? This cost me well over 200 bucks, and it's served me well. Helps me out a lot with this channel to, record footage with certain systems and stuff like that. But after hooking this bad boy up to this thing is pretty much fried. It no longer works. I don't know what happened. I've tried troubleshooting it, looking it up online. I just get a garbled mess on the screen. I'll kind of show a little bit of footage of what it does. None of the inputs work anymore. Doesn't work on any system that I have. I've tried, changing the firmware on it. It's very disappointing. So if you are interested in a Consolized MVS, particularly this is the one we are talking about, and you have an OSSC, I would highly, highly recommend not using SCART. I want to own the issue, but I'm not 100% why this happened. I found that there's certain issues with the sync, and it could possibly damage the OSSC, but it's not very common, but it can happen with these arcade boards. So I'm very disappointed to say that this is no longer with us. I can no longer use this. If anybody has a solution, you could let me know, but the more and more I've been testing with it, it just seems like it's a a lost cause for me anyway. Hopefully I can get another one within time. That way, you know, I can continue to showcase certain products, especially the stuff with the HD Retrovision cables and other systems that I have no other way of recording. But that is one big thing I needed to point out before we continue, is I want to own this situation, but at the same time, I'm not 100% of the reason why. And it only occurred from putting SCART with this. The system still works. The components, everything is good. I could plug it direct to my TV. I could plug it to a cheap Chinese SCART converter, no issue. But it played on the OSSC through SCART for just a couple minutes, and then black screen, and the screen on the OSCC just glitched out. Wasn't 100%, so I, you know, changed cables. Nothing worked. You know, put the HD Retrovision cables in through there, didn't work. I'm very disappointed. I mean, I'm trying not to have this bias my review of this system, because I'm not 100% how or why this occurred. But enough of that. Let's go ahead and dive up close, look at this system, look at, you know, all angles of it, open it up, take a peep inside, and then plug her in and check out the 161-in-1 cart. Let's do it. Okay, so here she is, a little up close look. So frosted looking acrylic here all the way around. Pretty nice stuff. And then on the top on this model, you do have the NeoGeo Max 330 Mega Pro Gear MVS 1C, all that wonderful stuff etched in. You know, it has kind of a stain to it. You know, not the highest quality look as far as, you know, the stain and the colors, but to me it looks good. It looks fine. Nice little MVS logo up top. And then up front here you do have power button. The power button does glow blue when it's on. Nice clicky button. And then you do have four, count them, four controller ports. So you have an SNK controller port, so you can either wire up your own stick or use a AES arcade stick, the Jelly Bean arcade stick, the original, or a NeoGeo CD controller. All of them work with this, or like I said, you can also wire up your own. And then you also do have two Sega Saturn inputs. So two of them, one of the SNK and one of the Sega Saturn, is for first player, and then the other two is for second player. So you do get options, either Sega Saturn or NeoGeo. Pretty cool stuff, I think. And then flipping it around, we do have some output options. You have AV out, and then your component, S-Video, RGB, Sega Saturn, so that's Sega Saturn output, and then you do have your 12-volt power supply. And this unit did come with its own power supply, so that was definitely good. On the website, and I'll have the link in the description, did not list that it came with that, so I was kind of unsure. So I did already unscrew. This does not come loose like this. There are several little screws that hold this top piece in place, but I just wanted to open it up so you guys can see that she is in fact an original NeoGeo one slot arcade board. Pretty good stuff. Got these two little plastic or acrylic shields just kind of blocking some stuff in there. And then you do have the CBOX boards that this kind of lays on top of. It's kind of hard to see, but you see there's a cable that links the two outer boards together. And then obviously the front plugs into this harness, thus powering everything, giving you the controller ports, your power button, and your video output options back there. Overall, everything looks good. The board pretty much looks brand new to me. I'm not sure, you know, if they just reproduce these or something. I doubt it, you know, not from what I've seen. And I can see there's some wear on this board,
but very minor. It looks very clean. I don't think they counterfeit NeoGeo boards. I could be wrong. There's just so many of them out there, and they're so common. I don't think they do, but correct me if I'm wrong anyway. I see some wear on the dip switches and stuff like that, so that kind of leads me to believe it was just a decently taken care of board. On the heatsink here, I don't know how apparent that's going to be. You can see a tiny bit of rust on that screw. Just wanted to point that out. That's another reason I believe this is fairly old, but no real issues that I'm seeing with this thing. Pretty awesome stuff. Underneath, I figured I wouldn't bother taking this apart. Just wanted to showcase the top here. The only thing that I could really say in a negative fashion concerning this setup is some people might not like the plexiglass. I think it looks okay. I wish they would possibly sell the CBOX components and then maybe these acrylic cases for people to do it themselves. No, I don't think they do. I haven't seen that yet, but that would be pretty nifty at a reasonable price. And then the only other thing I think I wanted to point out is with the RGB Sega Saturn and the S video, like they're kind of, which one is it? The S video is a little crooked on the board. I don't know how well you can see that, but to me it's a little off center a little bit. When I'm plugging in SCART, it kind of feels, not loose, but I feel like if I do it too hard or if I push too hard, that this piece might break off and I'll have to resolder it. Not crazy. It's not loose or anything, but I can just feel a little bit of give when I plug in the cable. So I just wanted to point that out for you guys. So we're going to go ahead and reassemble this, plug it in, test her out. Let's do it.
Okay guys, so we got it plugged in, ready to go. I am using a cheap Chinese SCART to HDMI converter. It's the best I can do at the moment, but this system does work plugged direct to my TV. But I do want to show here this Unibios screen. Looks a little funny with all that stuff on top. I don't know if that's normal with MVS units that have Unibios, but I did want to point that out and try to, have that on recording there. I've seen other people show that before, but I don't know if that's normal. When you're in a game, if you can get the Unibios screen to come up, if you reset the system, it doesn't look like that. It looks normal, just like if I'm playing on my AES. So just something of note. I have no idea why it's like that. So we do have this 161-in-1 cart plugged in. Not so much a review of this cart, but you can kind of see what I'm talking about. You got King of Fighters 94 or the 94 Plus. So there's a lot of little like hacked versions of games, stuff like that. So this cart, if you're interested in it, you got to kind of keep that in mind that there's a lot of hacked versions of games on here that are taking up a lot of space. But you do have a bunch of cool games, a bunch of interesting stuff. And I just want to kind of get into something to show that this does in fact work. Let's see here. Samurai Showdown 5 Special. Looking good. Some of the games on this cart do kind of have issues. Not every game plays 100% perfectly. I'm not sure if there's any issues with this one. And right now my recording does show this stretched out 16:9, but on my TV I do have it 4:3. When I try to change things with how I'm recording, it just messes stuff up. So for the sake of this recording, I had to leave it at 16:9, which some people will be annoyed by that, but as long as you have this plugged up properly, your TV can do 4:3. You're fine. But this thing, it performs well. I mean, I can't really test so much with, you know, an actual MVS cart, just with this multi-cart, but I'm really happy that it works. I'm very disappointed with the other issue that I don't know why. Is it something wrong with the system, the MVS unit? I've read of other people having a similar issue with the OSSC, with arcade boards in particular, so I don't want to quickly jump to saying that it is the unit here, the CBOX. I don't know if that's 100% fair to blame it, but I do have to point it out to you guys that I had an issue, and I don't know what the heck the issue was caused by, but not fun when you you know, get something damaged or destroyed that you use for your work and cost you, you know, hundreds of dollars. So I'm not as super excited as I normally would be while recording. It's just I wanted to get this out there, let you guys know my experience with this. I'm happy that I got this unit. I'm just not happy with that happening. This is definitely a viable option, but if you know, if you want to use this on an OSSC, I would just be very careful. I couldn't recommend it for that. If you want to plug it in direct to your TV or CRT, any which way, then definitely, yeah, you know, you can get this unit plus this 161 cart for well under $300. And all you would need is to either wire up your own controls. You can buy NeoGeo inputs. I've seen them online for a reasonable price that people use for DIY projects and whatnot. Or you can always buy controllers. They are pretty pricey. Don't get me wrong. That is another hidden cost behind any of these kind of systems, is getting the controllers for them. But the good thing with this version is you can use Sega Saturn controllers, and Sega Saturn controllers are quite a bit cheaper than NeoGeo controllers. I have 4 NeoGeo controllers altogether, so I'm fine. I have used the Sega Saturn controllers on this, and they are pretty amazing. Love Sega Saturn controllers for fighting games, but if I'm playing NeoGeo, I got to use NeoGeo controllers. That's just the way I am. They just feel right, you know what I mean? The 4-button layout. But you got those options. So I just wanted to showcase this product. Wish I could be more super excited in my normal self, but like I said, I had that issue. I don't know if I'm at fault, if the system's at fault. From what I've read, it seems like something that some people have experienced in the past, and not too many. It doesn't seem like a common issue, but I have read of a couple people running into this issue with using arcade boards on their OSSC. So keep that in mind, guys. Seriously, keep that in mind. I bought this off of AliExpress. Link will be in the description if you want to peep it out. There are different, versions of it. Definitely, if you're not going to build your own, you don't have the hookups on, all the stuff needed, and you just want an all-in-one, this is going to be the cheapest versus all the others out there. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to highlight it. But hopefully I get this problem resolved, figure it out. But we'll see. Appreciate you guys stopping in. Smash that like button, subscribe, do all that cool stuff. And with that said, I will catch you guys next time. Peace out. Bye-bye. Boom.